And we're back.
Welcome to episode 214 of No Direction, the No Direction Network's Pathfinder News, Reviews, and Interviews podcast. I'm Ryan Costello.
And I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Perram.
Tonight we are joined by Double Trouble himself, Paizo's own and the No Direction Network's own Luis Loza.
Hey there, thanks for having me.
How you doing, Luis?
I'm doing well. Can't you see it on my face?
No, we can't. For anyone listening at home, Luis has video problems.
Yes, we've been wrestling with it for a half hour. We cannot get him to move. What's worse, the camera's broke as well.
But you know what, Perram? You got to see Luis not too long ago.
I did. He really exists.
I assumed, but okay.
And we can confirm it with the likes of Vanessa and James and Alex, so it's not like he's just telling stories.
Right.
Yeah. None of which are here tonight, suspiciously.
So is it that they don't exist?
No,
we've been making it be and James and Alex.
They're just very loyal network members.
We're talking about PAX Unplugged. You and basically everyone that you just listed from the No Direction Network managed to go to PAX 3, PAX Unplugged 3, that is. And this is the first year that I didn't get to go, so I'm interested in comparing notes to see what your experience, both of you as first-time PAX Unplugged attendees, compared to, you know, me as a grizzled veteran of PAX Unplugged past.
Ooh, grizzled veteran. You know, nothing I experienced at PAX Unplugged this year would qualify for grizzled veteranhood. I mean, it was kind of like the most relaxed, chill, very busy convention I've been to. And those things aren't supposed to go together, but they went together very well at this year's PAX Unplugged.
What were you expecting from your PAX Unplugged experience?
I was expecting half a Gen Con. I was expecting like lots of lines, to quote the Grinch. And as well as like, you know, smaller versions of all the booths and maybe lots and lots of artists, because PAX is also, you know, Penny Arcade adjacent. And it was not at all what I expected it to be. Not in the least.
No, I knew from the questions you were posing on social media about like, oh, what should I make sure I see? Like, I walked the exhibit floor 5 or 6 times each PAX that I was at. And I was working at it. So it's not like I had oodles of free time. It's just, it's a much smaller, it is not half a Gen Con.
Well, it was this year.
It is. Yeah? Okay, so that's something I'm curious about. But first, Luis, what about you? What were your impressions as someone going representing Paizo?
So I'd never been to PAX Unplugged before, but I had been to PAX, what was originally Prime. It is now PAX West for the longest time, which is up here in Seattle. And I guess I had expected not the full amount of people that I saw at PAX Prime, but maybe a significant percentage of that, which I think is correct, but I had no other expectations beyond. There will be a large number of people. If anyone's ever been, or if you haven't ever been to PAX Prime or PAX East, PAX West, a lot of them are really focused on video games. So what ends up happening are there huge rooms full of amazing displays with demos and people waiting in line for 3 hours to go play 10 minutes of a new video game that's coming in. I guess I kind of half expected that is, oh, you know, there will be amazing booths with the next big hot thing that was just shown off at Gen Con. And there will be people in line for an hour to try out the, you know, 1 round demo or something, but it wasn't anything at all like that. It was mostly come play a full session of this board game, but people could kind of just come and go as they please. There weren't any enormous lines to deal with. And that's just from the, you know, someone who's not an exhibitor. Exhibitor-wise, it's easier than Gen Con. It was mostly demos that we ran at the Paizo booth. So I got to play Pathfinder for 3 days straight, basically.
Cool. Now, for someone who hasn't been to PAX Prime, how does that compare to Gen Con?
I think in terms of population numbers, it's probably on par, at least in terms of crowding and things like that. I couldn't tell you if it's the exact same number of attendees or anywhere close to that, but in terms of how crowded things are, they are pretty crowded at all times. But because the way the convention center, at least for PAX West, is set up, there are multiple floors to go to beyond Gen Con's just 2 floors. And then there's a huge exhibitor hall on 2 of those 3 floors, I think. So it's still pretty crowded, but there's a lot of spaces for people to kind of run off and look at smaller booths or hide away from the big crowds if they want to just sit down and have some games.
So you were there representing Paizo. Now, 2 years ago at the first PAX, Paizo was there with no stock. It was, my impression was that it was a last minute decision for Paizo to be there, and there was nothing major to push. So it was just, this is just promotional, although there was no like promotional items or anything that were there. Then last year, when, you know, there was plenty of time to prepare for a PAX booth, again, it was just running demos. Was there any stock? Was anything for sale at the Paizo booth this year?
Paizo, once again, did not bring anything to sell, but that doesn't mean Pathfinder wasn't available to buy. We had partners with Cool Stuff Inc., and they had a sizable stock of new second edition core rulebooks, bestiaries, all the basics at their booth, and we would point people that way to if they wanted to pick up a copy of the book and look at the full version of the game. That's where you can hop over and look at that.
But the basics don't include any books that you could sign as the developer, developing co-lead. Is that fair?
Oh,
the Lost Omens line. It doesn't have any of your books. Oh no, have we lost Luis?
No, Luis?
Hello.
Oh, good. I hear you now.
Okay. You cut out for a bit. I'm sorry. You said the basics.
You cut out.
We all cut out together.
Perram was fine. Don't you bring Perram down on this. One of us cut out.
Perram is a saint.
I was saying that of the books you listed, none of them were the ones that you were the co-development lead on.
Oh, we actually have copies of the World Guide there.
Oh, good. Okay. So something that you could sign.
Yeah, something I could sign. I did end up signing a couple of core rule books, but yeah, anything to get started with Pathfinder was there. So the World Guide was there, the core rule book, the bestiary, GM screen, all the basics, but we didn't have anything beyond that. So we didn't have anything like minis or some of the other accessories, but the core package was there and available.
Perram, I'm going to ask you about the highlights of day one, but before we do, if there's anyone that has any questions in chat, what are they supposed to do?
Why, we record every single episode of No Direction live in front of a Twitch audience, and if you wish to join us and get your questions in, you can do so by going to twitch.tv/No Direction every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We've got something on. This week, it's Prime. So yeah, if you got any questions for me or Luis about Pathfinder, about PAX, about any of the cool stuff happening this holiday, about,
the oodles of news we're going to get to.
I mean, if you need tech support, that's something else I do. And we just lost Luis.
Yeah, as you say, if people need tech support, Luis just disappeared. I know someone who needs tech support.
Yeah. Can you hear me again?
We can hear you again.
Don't worry. I don't know what's up with Discord, but we will carry on. And I will answer as many questions as the lovely people in chat will put forth.
All right. Well, then, Perram, if you don't mind, maybe we should focus on Luis while we still have him, because who knows how long that's going to be.
Yep.
All right. Kitsune Warlock in chat. Hey, Kitsune. Hey, Dustin. Were the demo games run at the PAX the same demo games run at PaizoCon?
Remembering what we did at PaizoCon, no. So PaizoCon, because a lot of the people that are attending PaizoCon are Paizo fans already, they kind of have a good feel for what Pathfinder already is, what tabletop RPGs already are. So that one is more oriented towards, hey, let's have fun by just going hog wild on killing characters and kind of pushing the limits of how quickly you can, or how much progress you can make in 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute delve is usually what is advertised. While here the demos were strictly 1-hour affairs that were intended to be people's first introduction to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, whether they were coming in from 1st Edition, whether they're coming in from other games like D&D, or they had literally no experience at all, which is something I encountered here and there. There were a few people who had never played a tabletop RPG, and I had to explain the whole basics of rolling a D20 and adding numbers to it.
Oh, that's awesome. That was what I remembered from PAX 2, that it was a lot of tabletop board games, but not a whole lot of role-playing game as far as the audience goes.
And was my experience too. I'd say about 2/3 of the PAX was board games, and about a third of it were role-playing games.
Yeah.
Wow, a third of it sounds like it's up quite a bit from last year then.
There were a lot of tables.
What, like, was it publishers? RPG publishers?
Oh yeah. Onyx Path was there. You had the Indie Press Revolution was there. You had Weave was there. Dungeon World and all of those associated games. Burning Wheel, that crew was there. The Conan Hyperborea campaign was there. I forget the publisher, but there was a Ragnarok RPG that was there, which had all this really cool Celtic art, and Norse art. It was like Vikings versus Celtic mythology, and it was kind of neat. Gosh, there was a ton of RPGs there. They were debuting the new Alien RPG was launching at PAX Unplugged.
Oh, that's cool. And that actually, I don't remember anything actually launching at PAX in the past. It felt like launch dates was still a Gen Con thing or a Kickstarter whenever you have the time thing. Whereas PAX felt like people were happy to be there, but it wasn't a major destination from a publisher side.
I don't know. I mean, like, almost everybody was there that I think about when I think about going to Gen Con, with the exception of like the Uber booths. Catalyst wasn't there, and Fantasy Flight wasn't there, and Games Workshop wasn't there. But if you were to insert those booths into the PAX floor, it would have become very nearly a Gen Con without an artist alley.
Oh wow!
Yeah, technically, you could play Fantasy Flight games. They had demos for it, but they didn't have a booth set up to sell you anything.
Yeah, when I think of the Fantasy Flight booth, I think of the monstrosity with the line wrapping around it and the gigantic statues. That wasn't there. In fact, all the booths were significantly smaller. Even the companies that traditionally have humongo booths were usually dealing with what would be considered a double booth at Gen Con.
Now, Luis, what were Paizo's objectives from their PAX Unplugged this year?
Considering Pathfinder 2nd Edition has been out for, at this point, 4 months, we still want to get the word out that it's here. It's a new game to try out, and really just getting people's eyes on the new game. There were a lot of people that we heard had tried the playtest or knew someone who tried the playtest and didn't have a great reception of that, and then just never bothered to look back on how the game turned out after its final release, but then got a chance to sit down and experience, oh wait, this is how it plays now, as opposed to what I had heard before. So I mean, it's just getting a chance to finally put TUI out there, beyond the typical hey, I read a review online or watched a stream play it or something. Getting people's hands on the game is pretty important.
How would you measure the success then of achieving Paizo's goals?
I think, for me personally, at least, because I mean, I have no access to sales numbers or anything like that, but just
what sales?
Yeah, I mean,
I would based on how people's reactions were to the game. There was never a table that ended where someone didn't say, "Oh my gosh, this was so much fun," or "Hey, we should try this out," or "Hey, this was better than whatever game they happen to play. This was better than I like this better than Pathfinder," they would say, or "I like this better than D&D," or something like that. There was always someone at a table, and there was always cheers and applause at points throughout every game that I was hearing from people running the demos, just because they were excited to be playing and exciting stuff was happening.
And then you lift the veil and it was Pathfinder.
The Pepsi challenge all over again. You put extra sugar in the dice, didn't you?
That's right. Yep. And a couple extra bucks in every character sheet.
So, Perram, what were some of your highlights from, let's say, day one or overall, whatever you want to go
Okay,
with?
so day one was my favorite day of the con because that was when the density was enough people there that it felt like it was a big popular con, but you could still walk through the con easily and find empty seats and tables to use very quickly. So I got most of my exhibit hall time there. I canvassed the exhibit hall, saw a lot of really cool small press indie games that were just like very darling. A favorite of mine was from ninth level called Excellence, which is basically She-Ra, the new animated series, as a role-playing game that is this
Go on.
tiny, $12, and has one of the most innovative dice systems I've ever seen.
How so?
So when you pick your character archetype, you pick a die, either a D4, a D6, a D8, and D12. That's the only die you will use for your character's entire existence. You might roll it multiple times. And each type of success, each type of challenge in the game has to hit exact specific numbers. And the best one to do this was like, if you wanted to do something about books or magic and know something about that, you had to roll a 3 or 4 on your die. But if you wanted to like hit something with a sword, you had to roll like 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 on your die. So the person that was the magical character using the D4 could hit those books numbers all day long, no problem. But that'd be really hard for the person rolling the big D12 to hit a 3 or a 4 on a D12. But they could hit that sword number all day long, but the magic dice could only hit it on a 4. So it was just messing with the probability of the different dices to represent different character skills.
That's amazing.
I
I've never
know!
heard of anything like that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, it's called the polyhedral system. I really hope to talk and interview that team like in some official capacity for some excuse I can come up with later. Um, and it was like $12 for the game for the physical version. I hear the PDF's available. They also use this system for like a really old school inspired like dungeon crawl, which was printed all on these like black and white pamphlets and stuff. And it was only available as pamphlets for like the next year or so. It was like exclusively just pamphlets because it was like part of a Zine Quest Kickstarter. It was like, let's go back to the old publishing methods and not make it all available modern and digitally as an experiment or as an artistic expression. And it was just really neat to see. And there was lots of people there where there was really talking these crazy ideas and whole new ways to play role-playing games, which are, of course, inspiring as a player or a GM, because every role-playing game you read, you can then steal from and use in your role-playing game you're playing. So maybe I
Be
won't.
inspired by.
Yes. Rob from generously. And use them in the game you're playing at the moment. Like I know I'm totally stealing stuff from Blades in the Dark for my next Pathfinder game. And so just really just seeing what's out there always will make you a better game master at all times, even if all you play is Pathfinder or D&D.
Can you say again, what was the name of the game?
Excellence.
Excellence.
Yeah, like
And
excellent,
do you remember the
plural.
Excellence. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember the name of the publisher? Because I have a feeling that's going to be
I
a
think
little
it was
hard to
ninth
Google.
level.
I've heard of a publisher named Ninth Level, so that's possible. Because
Yes,
honestly,
ninth level
this
games.
feels
Excellence.
like the game I'm going to use to introduce role playing to Scarlet. Like,
I mean,
this
it's
sounds amazing.
I want to run this on a stream. Okay, I'm not joking. Like, there was this part where it was like also, the language in it is like ridiculously empowering and positive and creative. That just reading through the book was like, I need to buy this for all the little role players in my life that I hope grow up to be big role players. And I'm going to pull it up on screen.
Game.
I'm going to pull it up on screen.
Yeah, this is awesome. The cover, the character on the cover looks like a cross between Glimmer and Princess Leia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I agree. I like the aesthetic is very much in the new She-Ra color palette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Perram,
Yeah.
I am going to buy this as soon as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So you said the system's called Polymorph.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's polymorph, not polyhedron.
Yeah. So does that mean there are other games
Yes.
that use that same system?
Yes, there's
That's
a game called Mazes that is a D&D dungeon crawl kind of game that uses it, and they're going to do a game jam here soon to show like where they're going to get a group of people together, designers, to just make up role playing games using this system in like 2 days. And no,
Yeah.
it was going to be one day. Actually, they've got some cool stuff planned with the system. So,
And I see they're the publishers of Cobalt Ate My Babies.
yes,
My baby.
yeah,
Sorry, just the one.
Yeah, that's what attracted me to the booth the first time, and then I was like, hey, what's all this other cool stuff you've got here?
So it looks like they got 2 more games scheduled for next year that use polymorph. One says it's called Good Dogs, a pack of intelligent telepathic dogs fight Lovecraftian horrors horrors within the dangerous Chernobyl exclusion zone.
I want to know more about the Warriors.
And the other is Fast Cars and Fireballs. Dragons rule the skies and we rule the streets. A game of wizards and wild creatures racing fast cars and pulling off fast and furious schemes.
Wow.
To try and get their hands on some of that dragon gold.
Cadillacs and dragons.
That all sounds amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a company I'm going to be paying attention to. I'm going to go see if they're on Facebook, and if they are, I'm going to like them.
And
all right. What else did you do on day one, Perram?
I got to go over to the WizKids booth, which were running some ridiculous sales, like some really cheap $5 minis for some really big minis. Like I picked up a couple of beholders and owlbears at $5 a piece, which was wonderful. And more importantly, and of interest to our audience, I got to touch their new Warlock tiles and play with them, like finished production models, and see how they actually worked and snapped together and worked with minis. And it works as advertised. They're high quality, good sculpts, decent paint jobs, but they all come pre-painted and reversible. They're a little tight to snap together, but other than that, exactly. And the little divider walls were much sturdier than I thought they would be, and nothing else on the market has those. So that makes designing rooms so much easy. So as opposed to like putting together a dwarven forge where you have to like line up corner pieces to make room divisions and pick out a certain number of corner pieces, a certain number of wall pieces, a certain number of floor pieces, and kind of do all that math in your head, to the extent that they make supporting software that will do this for you, and then put out an Excel sheet to tell you which pieces to get out of your collection. This is why I sold all my dwarven forge. Instead, what you do to lay out a dungeon in this stuff is just lay out the floor tiles like you would old D&D dungeon tiles, like make your room floor shapes, and then attach walls to the sides. Or don't attach walls to the sides if you don't want walls. And then you slide doors between the cracks, and you're done.
Cool. You said you got to play with them. You didn't get to buy them yet, right?
No, they're not going to be out till March. I think the first set's March. And then the follow-up sets are in June. I've got a bunch on pre-order right now, but no, I didn't get to buy them. But I did get to play with a full set of them and put together a dungeon.
Luis, any highlights from day one?
Well, seeing as I was there for work, it's hard to get away from the booth, really. But I think the big highlight for me was learning about the follow-up to Gloomhaven called Frosthaven. I love that game so much, and was excited to learn that. First off, hey, there's a follow-up, and second of all, it's here at PAX Unplugged. I didn't get a chance to sit down and actually try out the game, which is fine because I assume it's similar to how the original game is, and also because my break doesn't allow enough time to sit down and play a whole game like that. Just finding out about that game and chatting with people here and there. I got to swing by the organized playroom a couple of different times, and just seeing people play the game is exciting. The room was pretty much full up every time that there was a session going on, so that was great to see. In day one there wasn't too much going on. It was more of a figuring out what I'm doing at the booth and making sure I don't mess up this whole demo thing, which I got more comfortable with over the weekend.
Did anyone fawn over you?
No, not on day one.
Not on day one. Okay. So are you saying that you actually got enough out of your Gloomhaven box that you're ready for more?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just excited for more Gloomhaven. This is a funny thing. They had a panel talking about the new game the next morning, day 2, which I didn't get to go to because I had to work. But I've caught up on it since then. The first thing they asked is, "Hey, who here has played through all of Gloomhaven and the expansion and is ready for more?" And no one responded.
I mean, how do you do it? It's
And then
huge.
who has played through some of this and is just excited for more Gloomhaven to come around? And then, there were cheers from the crowd. But
Nice.
yes, I'm just excited to see it. And I mean, the idea of possibly like swapping between the two games and bringing over the classes from the old game to the new one, stuff like that. It's fun. It's the same kind of excitement one gets when you're in the middle of an adventure path or a campaign or whatever, and the new rule book comes out, and suddenly there's 3 new classes and a million new options, and you're just pouring over it and so excited about all the cool stuff that you can do sometime later.
Yeah, I remember Technology Guide came out when we were in the middle of Carrion Crown, and I'm like, and lasers? No lasers.
Oh,
But you brought up panels. I didn't get to experience any panels from the first 2 PAX that I went to. Perram, did you get to any panels this
yes.
weekend? Last weekend.
Day 2 was when I did panel days, because was Saturday and the huge crowd hit because no people were off work, and hey, if you're gonna go to a con in a big city, that's a good time to go if you happen to be in a big city. And I was like, this is way too many people in the exhibit hall area. I can't find an empty seat to get a board game in. I'm gonna go watch some panels. And so I went to the panels, and that's where those lines were that I didn't experience otherwise. They shoved us all in a little room and made us light up in a snake figure. And that's how we got to the panels. I watched one called Querying Your Campaign Narrative. And it was okay. It was kind of some of the same stuff that we've seen a lot in some of the panels we presented. It was kind of a 101 type of a panel when it comes to diversity and queer issues in gaming. But then I went to the resources I wish I had in game design, which was one of the best panels I've ever attended at a con in my entire life. I took 4 pages of notes at that panel, and it was 4 lead board game designers, and I wish I had their names on hand.
Matt Leacock.
No, all female, even though it wasn't advertised as an all female panel, and that never came up as part of the discussion. It was and they were, and it was just like no 101 stuff. It was just brass tacks, like here's how you do a meetup, here's how you meet publishers, here's what you need, this is what your pitch sheet needs to look like. And like I said, it was 4 dense pages of notes as fast as my little pen could write to learn about the intricacies of some very experienced publishers talking about how they got their games made and the resources that you're going to need business wise if you're wanting your game to succeed.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like a great panel, and not one I've never attended a panel like that. That would have been really cool to be at.
Mm-hmm. I hope.
What was the name of that panel again?
I think it was like the resources I wish I had for game design, or the resources that made me a success. And
resources that changed my game design.
That's the one. That's the one. That's the panel.
Do you have the list of panelists there, Luis?
Yes, I do, and I'm gonna butcher names here.
You monster.
So apologies now. It looks like Gwen Ruel from Runaway Parade Games, Jessica Crean, I Can't Quan Games, Liz Roche, Gather Round Games, Nicole Amato, Cardboard Fortress Games, and Carla Kopp with Weird Giraffe Games.
I like Weird Giraffe Games. Cool. Keep going. I wasn't there. Tell me. Make me feel like I was.
Okay. And
paint us a word picture, Perram.
That's the.
Did you get to any Paizo panels? Were there any Paizo panels?
There was one Paizo presentation. It was the Gaming with Glass Cannon with Eric Mona and Jason Bowman. And no, I didn't attend it. I'm sorry. Okay. Please don't hate us, Eric and Jason. But I was.
It's all right. It's not like people can't see that in some way. It's probably behind a paywall, but actually, maybe
no.
Not
all the main stage stuff was just Twitch streamed on PAX's stream, so it's in their VODs if you want to go watch it.
I might, because
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the glass cannon thing from PaizoCon
Mhm.
with Jason and Eric.
And after the panels, it was time for the No Direction meetup.
Yay.
Yep. So that's when all the KD crew that was there, which was myself, Vanessa Hoskins, Rob, Alex and James, Luis, Liz Lasdell joined us, as did Patchen.
Oh, cool.
And anybody I'm
Matt
forgetting?
Morris.
And Matt Morris.
Yep.
Yeah, and we all went to the Chinatown district, and we ate at this, I don't know the name of it, but this little restaurant that was a bunch of stalls inside a warehouse, basically. And it was delicious and wonderful, and we basically spent several hours just hanging out as KD people who don't get to see each other regularly, which is always the best part of any con. Lots of pictures were taken, lots of jokes were told, lots of Asian food was eaten and devoured. I finally got to have real ramen for the first time ever, and it was everything I hoped it would be.
Did James recommend the restaurant?
Yes, James was
Not
the
surprised.
one. And
James is a bit of a foodie.
Him and Alex were talking about how hard the hard mode of the final PF1 PFS scenario was. And it involved the phrase of Alex says, "I died 3 times in the first encounter."
Wow.
And evidently he got better in the middle of the first encounter 3 times from dead, yeah. Which, man...
Wasn't that the one where you could rip up another Pathfinder Society character's...
That's a special, which is different from
one.
the Passing the Torch parts 1 and 2 that they did.
Oh, is that the name of it? How did I not know that? That's a great name.
I was actually there 2 of the 3 times that Alex died in that first encounter. I swung down to visit the room again before I went off to lunch. And Alex told me, "Hey, I died already during this encounter." And I guess someone else at the table had a boon or something that could use for resurrection, I guess, mid-combat. And then he went down 2 other times while I was watching. And Matt Morris, who's freelancer for Paizo, was also there playing with him and happened to be so kind and use some Breath of Life on him to bring him back the other 2 times.
I hear
Luis, next time that I'm playing Pathfinder Society and you're at the con, stay away from my table.
Hey, Alex was dead before I got there. So it was just a slippery slope of, well, once you die once, it's pretty easy to keep dying. When you get brought back and only have 40 odd hit points and things are throwing 100 damage on one attack, it happens.
Matt Morris is in chat and he confirms it was a mess.
Now I hear that PFS sold out at PAX this year, so that was good news. And bad news if you're trying to get a table, I guess, but...
Not bad news if you're that one particular group on day 2, near the end of the day when we swung by, and Liz Liddell was very kind and just decided to cold run a quest for a group that wanted to try the game out.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I was kind of... Go ahead, Perram.
I was hanging out with Liz she was with us for a good chunk of the convention. I got to hang out with Liz Liddell, and it was a great time chatting with her and Luis together through most of the con.
So she was there with Paizo, right? She was working booth? Okay, and so outside of booth hours?
Yeah.
So, Luis, I jokingly asked if anyone fawned over you. You implied that there were people after day 1 who did recognize you and were kind of starstruck by your celebrity.
I didn't say that.
That's
I just said
what you implied.
I said I was fond over, not because I was recognized. It was for a different reason.
Oh, just because you're a gorgeous man with long, luxurious locks.
On day 3, someone came up to me and kind of asked, "Hey, can I ask about your ancestry?" And I mentioned, my parents both happen to be Mexican. "Oh, hey, you're a beautiful man and your hair is gorgeous."
See, called it.
So yes, you were right on that, and that was very kind. I did appreciate the compliment.
No, did you blush?
I Don't know. I couldn't tell. I couldn't see whether or not I was blushing. But if I
Can you
did,
see yourself now?
no. Remember, my video's down.
I don't know. Maybe you have a mirror.
I guess I could look in this glass nearby, but this
Are you
glass
blushing
hasn't.
now?
The glass has not told me that my hair is beautiful. So no, I'm not blushing at this moment.
That's awesome.
Speaking
That's my favorite story so far.
speaking of getting killed during games at PAX, especially as Stephen from Roll for Combat is involved, Stephen almost got me killed again.
Oh, come on!
I was playing.
You die too often in 2E, Perram.
It's not 2E.
And Stephen's often involved.
Yes, I know, right? So I don't think he realized it, but I was playing.
Yeah, he's in chat. He says, "What I did?"
Yeah, so
and
you
I don't
almost
know if
got me
playing
killed,
innocent,
Stephen, and I had to play dumb as heck to get away with it. So I was playing this game called Obscurio, which, oh my god, it's so good. It's going to be my next board game purchase for sure. And it is basically a trader mechanic game where you play wizards stuck in this magical library, and you have to use picture clues to find your way out of the library. And the game is played with one person who plays this magical book and is not allowed to talk, who gets to see the picture that is the right door, and it's all these fantastical Alice in Wonderland crazy fantasy pictures. Then draw two more of those crazy pictures and point to clues at each of those pictures with little magnet arrows that gives them the clue to the real picture that is one of the choices the players have. And the trader then gets to go into a book of pictures they have and pick one that match the clues better and put it down as one of the doors. So it's a fun, really fun little deduction game with a trader element. And I was the trader pretty much every game I played. We played it like 4 times. It was so good.
You monster.
No, it was terrible. And in the middle of it, I'm sitting there with my eyes open, silently giving numbers to the book to tell them which one of the fake doors I'm wanting to choose. And Stephen rolls on up because he's been looking for me to play games, and I wanted to play games with Stephen, but I'm literally not allowed to talk. And he's like, "Hey, Perram," and I'm like, "Can't talk right now. Can't even act like I'm looking at you. Please, nobody here who knows my name is Perram, look at Stephen's direction, or I'm going to be totally outed as the traitor." And I got away with it, thank God. Sorry for ignoring you, Stephen, on that one. I really wanted to hang with you, but if I would have said a word, I would have been dead. And I've successfully blamed the traitor on my buddy that game too, so it was wonderful. I got him voted
Looking
out.
up this game, it's interesting. It's by the designer is listed as L'Atelier, which it says is a professional group of passionate board game designers. So it was designed by committee, so it's good to know that that worked out.
Yeah.
And published by Libelund and Asmodee Italia. So I don't recognize either of those. Well, I know Asmodee, but like this is the Italian branch, and Libelund seems to be the American distributor, or American publisher. So it's actually a pretty obscure game that you managed to play, Perram.
Titled appropriately, then.
Yeah. Yes. Because reminding people the title was Obscurio. Just shout out to Obscurio, and yeah, people track this one down because it sounds like a cool game.
Because I think it's like $50, and it is like stuffed with materials. Like it's a dense box full of materials. It's not overpriced at $50. In fact, a lot of the materials were super high quality. Like the spell book is metal backed, and it's heavy thing.
This is a very cool game. I mean, cool looking game. You're the one that knows that it was actually a cool game. All right, awesome. Libelund. Really don't know that company.
Did you get to play any new board games, Luis?
I guess new to me. The main one I got to play at the end of the second day, which is why I was hanging out with Liz right next to the OP room, is a game called Letter Jam by Czech Games Edition. And it's a cooperative game wherein everyone is handed a letter. Just a random letter from the alphabet, and then each person puts up a stand that holds this letter in front of them in such a way that everyone else can see your letter, but you can't see your own letter. And the whole point is to try to give clues using the letters here. You try to spell out words using the letters that are available on the table based on what you can see in such a way that you can ideally give people a good idea of what the their particular letter is. So if you spell out a word that requires the letter E and there's no other way to know for this word to work unless the letter E is there, then hopefully that person figures out, oh, that my letter is E. And you try to do that. You try to get everyone's words or letters figured out before you run out of opportunities to give clues. There's only so many clues you can give. So it's a pretty fun game. And I liked it so much, I immediately turned around and picked it up at their little booth that they had in the demo room.
Cool. Was it Yellow's booth? That seems to be the American publisher.
It was a I don't know, it was a CGE room where they had a
Czech
couple
Games Edition.
Yeah, a couple of their games there. They also had Sanctum, which was basically the Diablo video games in board game form. I didn't get a chance to sit down and play it, but the the big logo for it is a big devil-looking guy. And then the board game itself, when I saw it in that same room, featured different slots for the different armor pieces that you can wear, which looked exactly like one of the Diablo inventory screens. So it looked like it could be a pretty good time.
Oh,
Awesome.
I like that idea.
Yeah, and the little bit I looked into it looks like it's a kind of 4-player game that's kind of meant to represent the hack and slash video game genre. And each character is one of the 4 different types of classes. So there was like a barbarian and a thief and a kind of Amazon style character. So yeah, it looked like it would replicate Diablo very well. And if that's the kind of thing you're into, which I am, seems like a game to check out, but it's not going to be out for a few more months. And I didn't know this, but apparently they had copies at the booth there. But anything that they didn't have, they said, oh, well, sorry, you're going to have to wait till February.
And what was the name of it again?
Sanctum.
And that was another CGE game?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, CGE had a big demo room right next to the organized playroom. So that's how I knew that they were doing stuff.
And
any final thoughts, Perram, or actually any final stories before we conclude what your final thoughts are on PAX Unplugged?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons we were able to play so many games at PAX Unplugged this year is because of how brilliant their free play and board game area was set up, which I think every single convention needs to copy immediately. So they have their big board game library, which is not too unusual from any board game library. It was open to the main free play area, not just a sanctioned off area. Also, completely free, and I know that's not always possible for conventions, but was a nice perk. But the best part is right next to it was this LFG area with a big old TV screen where you were able to either go and say, hey, I'm running this game, I'll need X number of players, grab a big giant orange cone to let people know where you're at and that you're looking for players, or hey, I'm a player, I would like to play something, what can I jump into right now? And just with that working seamlessly, I was able to just go back and forth this game, and more times than not, I would play the game that I never played before and learned that it was a game I want to play again.
Awesome. Luis?
I mean, it was work. As fun as it is to play Pathfinder over and over and over again for 3 days straight, it meant I didn't get a chance to check out the rest of the convention as much as I would have liked. And part of that was also just me not realizing how much cool stuff there really was. I didn't take the time to do any research beforehand to say, to see, oh, this particular game's going to be here or that particular publisher is going to be there. I want to check out that thing. But even just a little bit that I found and stumbled upon was pretty fun. And it was just so much fun getting to see people be excited about Pathfinder 2nd Edition and have fun with the demo. Like very early on, I realized I don't have to run it by the book and turned it into more of a, hey, this is you. If I ran it by the book, a lot of people would have been knocked unconscious and started dying. And that's not as fun as, hey, that cool thing your particular character can do that you just grabbed? Let's use that now and make you feel awesome and hopefully want to try to keep playing the game as time goes on.
Do you think you'd attend a PAX Unplugged if you weren't working?
It would have been easier before I moved up to to this Pacific Northwest. Living in Nebraska, literally in the center of the country, means it's cheaper to go to any direction because I just fly outward as opposed to have to fly from one coast to the other like I would here. I would consider it though, especially if I had a good group of people to meet up with, like the fine No Direction crew.
Perram, you think you'll be back for another PAX Unplugged someday?
I am strongly considering going again next year.
Nice. I cannot guarantee that I'm going next year. It would be work related, and right now that's not the stuff we're focusing on at work. So I probably won't be able to, but I'll miss it, and I will live vicariously through you, Perram. PAX Unplugged wasn't the only big news that's Pathfinder related that came out in the last couple of weeks or since last episode. One thing that was hinted at last episode, it had just broke that Owlcat Games had a picture posted on their social media.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a picture that created a lot of buzz and was a viral marketing to announce their new CRPG. Perram, what can you tell us about Wrath of the Righteous by Owlcat Games?
Why, it's going to be Wrath of the Righteous, the adventure path, using it's going to be not quite a sequel to Kingmaker. Everything they say about this, they don't say the phrase Pathfinder First Edition, but it's strongly hinted that it is. It is going to include 2 new classes. We're going to get to play the Witch. We're also going to get to play the Oracle. It is going to involve mythic characters. And you're going to be going through Wrath of the Righteous. It's going to be a little bit expanded from, of course, the narrative that's presented in the AP. And that's pretty much all we know. But it's enough to get a solid idea of what we're dealing with. And Wrath is a good choice for a follow-up for Kingmaker because it uses a lot of the same systems that Kingmaker uses. It has hex crawling, it has armies, it has city building and things like that Kingmaker used. Just sprinkle a little bit of overpoweredness that should go over a lot better in a video game form than it might have in Pathfinder First Edition's form. And you have the recipe for a pretty cool turn-based, not quite turn-based game, because it's active time with pause instead of turn-based, but there you go. But there's a mod for Kingmaker you can download on Nexus if you want it to be perfectly turn-based.
And you've played some of Wrath of the Righteous. It was not an adventure
I've
path
played
you finished.
most of Wrath of the Righteous.
Oh, was it most? Why did I think you stopped around book 2?
I beat book 4.
That's right, because you even did some of the army stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, but, it was an adventure path that you actually abandoned. So what happened there?
It was just that with the mythic system, the players just got so powerful that even throwing mythic foes at them, the fights were completely trivial. And the players just weren't having fun because there was just no challenge left for them in the game. A lot of them were very good at building characters. In Pathfinder, if you're very good at building characters, you can already become overpowered fairly easily. And adding on mythic just sort of exacerbated that. I mean, it had some cool moments, like the time one of my players summoned a celestial rhinoceros and used it as a throwing weapon to kill a mythical chimera.
I don't know if you've told that story before, but it tickled me.
Yes. But again, it just got to the point where it was basically even taking the stock fights, the mythic fights in the book, and literally quadrupling the monster's hit points, they would still die on the first combat round.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And so it was just like, okay, gang, let's play something else. We're not really enjoying this. The story was great. Like, I loved the story, the writing, the characters, all that was fantastic. It was just, it's kind of just me reading the story and then them killing a combat in 5 minutes and me reading the next part of the story and them role playing. And then, if some groups are up for that, I think with a different group or maybe some of TPK or no, Legendary. Is it Legendary who made the expansions for?
Legendary did the mythic.
Yeah.
I forget what their mythic line was, but anyway, go on.
I think maybe if I had access to, we were playing this as it was releasing too, so a lot of the support material just wasn't there. It may be with Legendary's mythic support to really beef up that system, we would have had a much better time.
Mythic plugins.
Yeah. But as it was just It was just too easy for our group.
One time in Discord, we did talk about Wrath of the Righteous, the adventure path,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of came up that it's probably one of the most abandoned adventure paths. A lot of people got into it because they were really invested in it, and then a lot of people left for a lot of the subsystem reasons. And I think when we did at one point, I think it was 2 Januaries ago, we did a review of all the first edition hardcovers that had come out at that point, and we said Mythic was the book we would least recommend. It was like almost a useless book because it was 100% dedicated to subsystem. It didn't seem that great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I kind of am with you on that.
So
But
it makes this a good choice for the CRPG because then
mm-hmm.
this is actually a chance to revisit it. It is something that people were invested in, and the problems with it are known.
Right. And not only are they known, but also the formula, since Luis was talking about Diablo, of overpowered holy characters wading through literal armies of demons like their paper is a proven computer game success.
Luis, what's your experience with Wrath of the Righteous?
I had been a player in it up through the end of the first book and a little bit into the second book, and then our GM had to uh, uh, drop it because he was moving away. Actually, moved to Seattle, coincidentally. So I liked what we had done up to that point. It was kind of it was one of those, people aren't pulling their punches kind of thing. Neither was the GM, so it was kind of tough for a bit. But very quickly, I realized, oh no, I'm going to be able to tear this thing apart once I get Mythic rank 2 or so, and I'm a wizard, so it's very easy to do that. It's one of those adventure paths that I've always been excited about conceptually. I can see how this is me speaking as just a GM, not even like from a developer standpoint, but just can see how it could get out of control very quickly. So I've always wanted to see if there's some other way to run that again, where you could keep all the mythic creatures with all their bigger hit points and AC and all that stuff, but not make the PCs mythic, but still give them a fighting chance, and then make it feel like a challenge all the time. Perhaps you could do the Gestalt thing where everyone has two character classes in the one character. One idea I've had is there's a point early on in the campaign where you first receive your mythic power, and instead of getting your first mythic rank, you would instead get a free archetype that is just added on top of whatever your class already does. So if you're a fighter and you wanted to be good at archery, you would then also gain the archery archetype and get extra power that way, but still have all the base numbers and stuff involved there. So who knows? But I mean, as Perram said, using a video game is the perfect place to be able to rebalance that and tweak the system. And of course, then you also have difficulty modes that can make it even harder or easier based on what you need for however you want to play it at your computer.
I know that Wrath of the Righteous was supposed to be the mythic AP, but one of the things that always intrigued me about it was the morality system, and that there was a way of redeeming a lot of the NPCs, and that there was a lot of the NPCs were like they had a turning point, and how you interacted with them dictated which way they went in the adventure. And that's also something that I could see being done very well in a video game, especially with my experience with Kingmaker.
Yeah, so many
Mm-hmm.
companions that you can pick up.
I mean, that's the ultimate tragedy of it. King of Rock said in chat, just said the World Wing Encourages was one of the best first chapters of the AP they've played, and I agree. That first chapter before you get Mythic has like a great intro, a super dungeon, characters and factions that you just really want to be involved with, a supporting cast that I loved role playing, and all of my players loved getting involved with, and working with the redemption system. Um, it's got such a great wealth of ideas there and lore to tap into. It's just like we said, Mythic breaks it. And I agree with Luis's solution. Mythic doesn't break at Mythic rank 1. Mythic breaks at Mythic rank 2 and above. That's when you start breaking the action economy and being able to do a lot of extra actions on a turn, which just takes broken Pathfinder builds and breaks them even further. And I believe the phrase going around, it becomes rocket tag. The person who wins initiative wins the fight. And if you would just like let them have that Mythic rank 1 that gives them all those buffs and survivability, and then do something like Luis said with archetypes or Gestalt, and it would work just fine.
Next bit of news. This may sound familiar, but no, this is not the same bit of news that we covered last episode. There is a new Pathfinder Humble Bundle. This one is the Pathfinder role-playing game Lost Omens Lore Archive.
Mm-hmm.
Luis, this feels like something you will know a thing or two about. What can you tell us about the Lost Omens Lore Archive?
Oh, sure. I mean, lots of people are joining into Pathfinder for the first time with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, or may have been away from the game for several years and are hopping in now and may not know the ins and outs of the world that the last 10 years have been describing. So this is a perfect chance for people who are new to the game or just inexperienced with the Galarian setting to learn more about it. If you've picked up the world guide, there's a lot of places that we mention, and then don't give you more than half a page to a page worth of content to explain what that is. And this bundle has the books that give you the deep dive into places like Ustalav or some of the more notable cities of Galarian. And from what I've gathered, and I think someone took the time to figure it out, if you've checked out other Humble bundles before, this is even a great one to snag, because I think there's only 3 books in this bundle that have showed up in previous bundles. The rest are all brand new to the Humble bundles.
Looking it over just from what I remember of Humble Bundle, I think the Inner Primer has, and I believe Planar Adventures may have at one point.
And I think the World
Distant
Guide.
Worlds. Oh, the World Guide?
The Inner
Is the World Guide in here?
I think so. Isn't it around the $10 level?
Yeah, it is on the second tier.
But yes, like otherwise, and there's a chunk of stuff you get at every tier. There's Chronicles, and campaign setting books, Pathfinder Player Companions. There's actually some Pathfinder Chronicles, so the 3.5 era campaign setting books, and it covers a lot of content. And you know what? I don't have most of these books, so I am going to be throwing in my $52.95 Canadian to get the top tier. Because even I have a couple of these books as hardcover, but I do not have, or not hardcover, but physical. I don't have them as PDFs, so that's pretty exciting.
And just to follow up on Luis, when I said a few episodes ago that if you were getting into 2nd edition, the 1st edition books you would be interested in would be a lot of the setting books where the rules crunch isn't the primary driver. And honestly, this is a top hit list of all the books I'd recommend people pick up if you were interested in the setting and we're going to be playing with 2nd edition rules.
I like that the Dragon Empires books are in here.
Those I like the Sargava's
great dense books. So some people in our Discord were kind of thrown off that Rancho Obi-Wan is the charity that is default support. Rancho Obi-Wan collects Star Wars memorabilia as a museum. Like it archives a lot of props and things that are relevant to Star Wars fans. And we know that Lisa Stevens is a gigantic Star Wars fan. So, excuse me, if you were hoping that your Humble Bundle money would go towards a charity that's more hospital-based or more, I don't know. I like the idea of a pop culture charity, but I have a feeling that I will be swapping out the charities. And that's what you can do. You can, when you donate, you can choose your own preferred charity. And I believe as long as it's got some kind of association with Humble Bundle, I don't know exactly how they're determined, but there are ways to customize which charity your money goes to. If for whatever reason you don't feel right sending money to Rancho Obi-Wan. More news. Are you ready for more news?
Gosh, what more news
Perram,
is there?
This one is news that I want to hear your thoughts on because 5 new products were announced. Spell card decks. Yes. It's got all 4 of the Magic editions plus focus cards.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Okay, so yay. Okay, obviously I made probably the most popular spell cards for 1st edition, and yeah, I was gonna make 2nd edition cards, but they're pointless now. But the only reason I made those is these didn't exist. And back when I made Perram spell cards, it was literally on a dare because I was tired of so many spell card projects being announced and getting like 3 levels of spells done and then abandoning their projects and never getting the sets out, which is still the state of the industry right now. I think maybe TPK has their full set out. I don't know. But TPK did a really great 1st edition set of printed spell cards. And we're doing another 2nd edition set. But to have first party supported really cheap spell card decks available that are just provided from Pathfinder makes my life so much easier. You can't print them this cheap yourself, and you can't get them printed this cheap anywhere without basically printing in bulk. And Paizo gets to do that because they're a big company and all that jazz. It's like $30 for the Arcane and the Cult set, and that has more than 200 cards in it each, and $25 for the other sets, the Focus, the Divine, and the Primal, and they have more than 150 cards in them each. And like I said, really good price. Obviously, we have not seen what a card looks like. We just have box art right now. I will have many opinions on the quality of this product once I get my fingers on them.
I'd also suggest we have box art mock-up right now. I don't know if that's going to be the final art.
Yeah. But it's coming out in January, so it might be like this.
It's actually coming out in February, according to the website. I know we were told January, but
okay.
There was an update from Katina last month that said it had been pushed from January to February. So, yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Still, that is a ridiculous turnaround time. When these were announced, we just assumed they'd be getting them at PaizoCon, Gen Con.
Yeah, well, even when they went up, they had June dates, like before they got corrected to January, and then I guess corrected again to February. And June is about when I would expect something announced today to come out from Paizo, because that's the trend. So this is really unusual in a lot of ways, that we didn't know about this till just a few days ago, and that we're getting them so soon.
They're exciting, and I could see every group getting all 5 decks.
Yeah, no, like it's 110. No, 50.
Let's say it rounds to 150 after tax and shipping.
Yeah, and but then you get the disc.
All right, fine.
Like 130 retail ish, and my math is bad. You need get these. Like if you're playing it with physical at a physical table with physical books and not using an app to control your character, this makes your life so much easier. There's a reason I went out of my way and spent hundreds of hours supporting this for first edition. I'm so glad that this is existing for second edition, supported by Paizo directly.
Interesting question from Smart Goblin. Did they mention if there was going to be a PDF?
They specifically said there will not be.
Oh, but I can see why. But I can also see why we would want one.
Yeah.
I could see all sides of this argument.
Mm-hmm.
Luis, do you know anything that we didn't mention about these products?
No, I mean, even though I work at Paizo, there's always stuff that is just out of my wheelhouse, and I don't know stuff. So, what is on here? I knew they were going to be a thing, and now everyone else knows they're a thing. So we're all up to speed on the knowledge.
And either of you, do you know how future spells are going to be supported? Is there just going to be one more box of 2020's new spells, or is it going to be waiting until there's enough for another arcane box, another divine box, etc.?
Who knows? I could see maybe like a pack coming out that's a normal deck of card size version that is, here's the next 54 arcane cards or something. But I have no idea how they're planning to do that,
well,
if at all.
If we look at how D&D has done the similar with their spell cards, which are again similarly priced, when they put out a new expansion book, like a big nice hardcover, which is hardly ever, but so we only really have the 1 or 2 examples of this. They put out a 60 card deck like Luis said, but it's like all the spells that are in that book, so it's like $10. Here's all the spells in this book. It's for all of the discipline, or for all the classes. For here it would be all the traditions, and that would be nice.
I don't see anywhere a list of what size these cards are going to be.
I assumed standard playing card size.
But yep. Vic Wirtz answering a question. Standard poker card size. So that's good, because then you can sleeve them using the standard cheap ones. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that means some spells are going to be printed across multiple cards, but that's fine and easy to manage, especially when it's an official product.
And with second edition, that's going to be less needed than it was in first edition.
You'd be surprised how much you can fit on the front and back together.
Yep.
On just one card.
I have a lot of experience on what you can fit in the front and back.
Perram wouldn't be surprised. And interesting, Numbat18 says in the forums, he thinks Vic indicated they don't do PDFs for cards in part because they thought no one would want them. And some people are trying to dissuade them of this notion.
I would love to have the PDFs if it was available for these cards, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. If you are interested, go to Paizo forums, search for card PDFs. It shouldn't take you too long to find the one that he's talking about. And just join the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Also, coming out about the same time is the bestiary cards, which are going to be tarot-sized cards.
Yes, that's one of the reasons I was wondering why it didn't list specifically what these size cards were, because I couldn't tell from the box mock-up because it just looks like a cube. And because the other product that they're putting out that are these reference cards are going to be oversized.
Yep.
And I am looking forward to those bestiary cards.
And that's going to come up when we do the next segment specifically.
Oh, well, we're almost there. This would have been a good transition point, but there's two more bits of important news. I know there is a lot of news coming out right now.
Costello, I was setting you up.
I know, but come on, there's an order that we have to do things. Right. We do the news, then we do the
great transition.
All right? No, you eat your vegetables and then you get your dessert. But thank you for setting me up a good compliments on the transition. It would have been great. But you know what's coming in the year 2020? PaizoCon. How's that for a transition, Perram? See, I'm as good as you are. PaizoCon tickets are officially on sale now, and we do know two guests of honor. Kate Baker, freelancer Kate Baker, who, friend of the show. She participated in the guest blogger takeover we did a couple of months ago.
Kate BakerCon 2020.
And that's fun. Kate is just a delightful person and such a just positive energy when it comes to gaming. So really cool. Congratulations to her. The artist is Damien Monoliti. Luis, what can you tell us about this artist? Have you worked with him?
I haven't actually. So
he's been working for Paizo as a freelance artist since 2009.
Well, at least the name doesn't ring any bells with any products I worked on in particular.
He earned a silver Ennie for his cartography work in Starfinder Pack Worlds.
Ooh, that's a great book with a lot of great cartography in it.
Look at that. He did do the on the Inner Sea World Guide. It has the two different maps. One is the more stylized version of the map, and that's his work there.
I really like
King of Rock says we got to do D2020 Year of Gaming trending. Yeah, we do.
Oh, yes. Good idea, King of Rock.
I remember when, I believe it was 2014. Yeah, 2014 was the year of gaming, was the last year of gaming because the D20, 20 and 14 tend to be adjacent. So, I could totally see doing the same thing for 2020. Anything that is an excuse to make a year of gaming, I'm on board with. There's one last bit of news. It is not Pathfinder news, but it is super cool and related to us, and that is Starfinder's coming to Alexa. This was released in a blog post. We got a lot of details about it from Amanda Hammond. The product was teased first at PaizoCon by Lisa Stevens, saying that this might change gaming more than anything ever. Like, it was a really hyperbolic statement, but it got a lot of people's attention. And then for the last couple of weeks, the 1216 in the Starfinder font has been spamming all over Paizo's social media presence. So we finally learned, excuse me, what 1216 is. Perram, can you go into that?
Okay, so 1216 is going to be when they release a Starfinder skill. It's not an app, it's called a skill for Alexa, which will allow you to play a version of Starfinder with any Alexa enabled device. So that is of course the Amazon Echoes, but you can also do this on your PC, your phone, your tablets, if you got any Kindles or Kindle Fires, just about anything that's capable of running software and hearing
I missed that you can do this on a PC. That's really cool.
And just download the apps and chat with it. And the skills. You have to download the Alexa app, and then the Alexa gets skills. The one that's launching on 2016 16 and
12-16.
12-16. Actually, don't make me talk about this. I know what I know about it and what I'm allowed to talk about are two different things right now.
Fair enough. All right. Sorry. Well, why don't you tell them what our involvement is?
All right, so we got contacted a little while ago from Peugeot that they had a new toy they were going to send us, and they sent us some advanced copies of this. They actually sent us some echoes to play with it. That some special echoes that are loaded with that got loaded. Anyway, technical details.
Yeah,
These are special echoes that have advanced access to the software, and a few of us from KD Beyond are able to play with it, and we are going to be doing a review that will launch on midnight of 12/16, either right as or right before the app is available. You'll be able to watch the episode that we're preparing in advance to know what the deal is and what our thoughts is playing with this thing.
We're going to release it as a podcast at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's something that people can watch out for. It is not a usual Beyond release date. It is actually the Monday before a Beyond episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk about who specifically. It'll be you, Owen, and Vanessa each got their echoes.
Mm-hmm.
I did not, so I'll kind of be hosting the conversation and kind of playing the role of the person who is very curious about this thing and exactly what it's capable of. And then on Wednesday, it is a Beyond episode, and I have a feeling most of that's going to be dedicated to continuing that conversation where James and Alex get involved as well.
Yep.
Finally.
And I've been very careful not to say a certain phrase while we were doing this podcast because it's sitting right there.
Hey, Perram.
Yes.
Oh, actually, sorry. Luis, did you have any thoughts on the Starfinder on Alexa?
It was very cool first hearing about that internally. We've actually had not demos. I guess it was being tested out here at the office for a while now. And people like Jason Keeley and some of the other Starfinder crew got to like sit down with it and play the game to make sure it was working correctly. And just knowing what the future plans are, if this goes well, it's pretty amazing. So, I mean, it's some cool stuff. I think it'll be neat. We'll see what other people think about it.
Perram, you were talking about speaking of cards a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
What was it about cards you wanted to transition to?
Well, we here, because it's just around the holiday, depending on what holiday you celebrate, it's time
I celebrate eggnog.
I wish I had a cookie right.
What kind of cookie?
No, peanut butter with chocolate chip.
That sounds pretty good.
So I could dip it in that. Anyway, so it's time to buy gifts. And it's time to buy gifts for your geeky Pathfinder players and or game masters.
And we've talked about holiday gifts before in the, usually around December, it's a good time to do it. So we put an interesting spin on it this year. The challenge was to come up with stocking stuffers for the Pathfinder fan. Mm-hmm. It's going to be gaming related. It's not necessarily Paizo specific, but basically, if you've got a stocking, for example, you've got a certain amount of space for it, and there's a certain expectation of a budget of what can fit in it. Now, just for logistics, I tested that a Funko Pop in box can fit in a stocking. So that's around the size that I'm going for with the things that I was picturing fitting in there.
Mm-hmm. And a book will fit in there if it is a novel size or smaller. A full hardcover rule book would have difficulty.
Now, I also happen to have the condition card box right here, and fits absolutely no problem. It's my Batman stocking, which I believe is where cards are coming in. Now, I started my upper budget was $20. What was your price range for what, at least like the main event of your stocking?
I tried to keep everything $50 and under, because this might be like your gamer relative.
That's an expensive stocking.
That's like, sorry. That's kind of like my gift budget for people. Like if I care about you a lot, that's where my budget is for you.
Okay. I guess I think even if it's a small enough to fit in a stocking, if it's over $20, you wrap it and you put it under the tree. It's all about presentation. It's very semantic and not really important to this
I
conversation.
think you were much more dedicated to the actual stocking concept than I was.
Perram, if there's one thing I am, it is dedicated.
Yes,
Especially when themes are involved. I love a good theme. So mine are in cost order. So the more expensive I went is $20. So why don't you start with your $50 extremely generous stocking stuffers?
All right, so I'm gonna pull up the most expensive one I have, and it's just because it's so freaking cool. And it was $60. Okay, so I kind of budged on this. It had 50,
you even went over budget.
It was $59.99, and I'm sure you can get it
still
cheaper.
over budget, Perram.
Oh man, do you know what that is in Canadian?
That is like too much in Canadian.
We're pushing $80. I'm actually going to open my currency converter app and tell you.
All right. And it is the Character Case or Gaming Organizer. It is a really cool little soft, like, you know, those like little soft foam cases you get. But its interior is designed for a character. So it's got areas for your character sheet, areas for cards, a little area with foam to shove your character's minis in, a place for pins, and a little dice storage area / dice tray that all zips up with a really cool RPG themed cover.
And what is the manufacturer's name?
They are not listed on their own Amazon page.
Fair enough. I'm only asking because
it says buy character case, so this might be a one-off from the company.
It looks really cool, and I've seen things like this, but usually from a company like Dogmite and Wormwood.
Right.
So this is a plastic mass-produced item. It looks really cool, and I'd like to see one in person. I might try and track them down at next Gen Con.
Yeah, if they're at Gen Con, I definitely want to check them out. This is the first I've ever seen of this when I was just searching for gift ideas. Like, this would be something I would buy the gaming sibling in my life. You know, sibling is always a big gift.
Perram, how big are stockings in Kentucky?
Yeah, now looking at this second picture, it's like 3 decks of cards wide.
Not to say that it's not a good gift, but
it's a great gift.
I kind of thought it was smaller. When I put it in this list, I thought it was half the size it was.
I mean, I also went and had something that won't at all fit into even a large stocking. But
what are we even doing here?
I think you were the only one married to this stocking idea, Ryan.
It's the thought that counts. I thought it might fit in a stocking, and it turns out I was wrong.
Which one of those is that, Luis?
Oh, I have. I guess the first would be the book stand here. That I have it shared with our nice little outline here. So this is something I've actually found very useful as a GM, and I think more GMs deserve to get gifts. What this is just like a nice little stand that you can put a book on. In particular, something like a module is the perfect size for this. Any magazine sized book works really well on something like this. It doesn't have to be this exact model, but a book stand like this is perfect for having it out open, so you don't have to constantly be flipping open your adventure path or whatever you're running, and just have it open there. You can have your map open or whatever the current encounter is while you then attend to the rest of the table, and it's very useful to have. And then you can also use it for other books outside of RPGs, but in particular it's great for the GM who's running an adventure at the table, or even players could use that to keep their, I don't know, like if they have a player companion that has their particular options up, they can use that, or hold their character sheets up.
Yeah, I'm thinking the first edition character folio, this would be a nice way, because one of the complaints was the footprint that it took up. This would be a nice way to manage that footprint pretty well. I especially like, if you look in the last picture, these 2 tabs that hold the page open. Looks like it's not putting too much pressure. They look like they're rubber tipped, so it's not going to damage the page, but it does the job of making sure that the book is staying open no matter what page you're on.
Yeah, I can speak from personal experience that it does that job perfectly.
Wow, I love this thing. If my players bought me one of these, they would have a hard time dying that night.
So Kitsune Warlock is mentioning Owen's 52 and 52 would be an awesome gift, and acknowledges it wouldn't fit in a stocking, but apparently that doesn't matter to anyone else.
The download code would totally fit in the stocking.
You can download the PDFs into a flash drive and put that into the stocking.
Oh, that's clever. But then do you expect the flash drive back? Or is the flash drive part of the gift?
The flash drive is part of the gift. If you can spare $5 for a flash drive.
One, yeah. So I need to comment that the book stand version that Luis talked about, it has a bear version.
I did see that.
Perfect for the druid in your life. Or for my laser bear in Starfinder.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, man.
And there are tiny versions of it. So there are versions of this that will fit in the stocking. There's like a mini pocket version of it and a cell phone sized version of it. And an extra big, gigantic version of it that absolutely won't fit in that stocking. No, this is great. Great idea.
My first item is one of my go-tos of what makes an ideal gift. It's something that almost anyone, when they look at it, they're like, oh man, that's cool. And then they'll look at the price and they're like, that's a little more than I'm willing to spend on it. And that is the Litgo mounts. So the one that I've got linked there is the Pegasus, but Litgo makes, what is the material?
Acrylic.
Not plastic. Thank you. Yeah, they make acrylic game pieces, and their entire role-playing game section is cool. They've got a lot of game aids and whatnot. But the mounts are always the one that I keep going back to, thinking like, oh, I just want to run a campaign where everyone gets a griffin, and you can get this $15 griffin one. Or now they've got a flying nightmare. They've got dragons. They've got a winged pig, which I appreciate. They've also got horses, ponies, wolves. And it's this just little basic acrylic model. It's two-dimensional, more or less. And it's got a shelf that you can then stand your miniature on. So when your character is actually mounted, you put him on the mount. When they're not, you have the mount and the miniature both represented on the table. I know that a lot of the time when people have a mounted character, you'll have the mounted mini and the non-mounted mini. And usually your mount will be the mounted mini. Just ignore that the mount is on it. This allows you to actually have both of them feel like they are separate individuals that are on the battlefield. And it's just a cool little toy that lets you play around with, hopping on and on your horse using the ride skill.
And this was on my list as well. It's a great choice.
Cool. Specifically the mounts?
Yeah. Actually, there's a couple of other Litgo items on my list too that I'll save for later, but this was in the list of Litgo recommendations.
All right. Well, I'm at the $20 range right now. The most expensive one, I believe, is the Nightmare at $20. Most of them are $15. Where are we going from here? Perram, we going to your next most expensive one?
Yeah, let's go to my next most expensive one, which is... I lost my thingy.
Kitsune Warlock is in chat. His review of the bear-looking bookstand is not an owl bear, 3 on 5.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So my next one was at the $30 range, and this is for the GM in your life to make their life easier. And that is to... Please work. Please work. No, didn't work. And that is WizKids and other companies, but WizKids has a bunch of these dungeon terrain packs. They specifically things that your GM is going to have to draw a bunch to save them some time. So whether you're using battle grids or tiles or full 3D terrain, every GM can have use for pillars and torches and crates and barrels and good lord doors.
Yeah, a lot of companies have been putting out terrain items like this, and WizKids kind of undercut them all with a much cheaper, very large pack of a lot of the basics. So it's something that I've had my eye on for a while.
Yeah, the one I pulled up specifically is the pillars pack, and there's 2 versions of this one that has a lot more pillars and stuff than this one, and then there's this one. And I have this is one I really like and use a lot. This one comes completely pre-painted. It's fairly cheap, and it saves me a lot of time and also impresses players when you put these down on your battle mat. Also, the Paizo official flip tiles don't have things like door and furniture in them on the card specifically. So having sets of these, basically 2.5D terrain, to put on the official Pathfinder flip tiles makes those a lot more useful.
I did not realize there was a pre-painted option. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you want to save some money, you can get them unpainted.
Maybe I do want to save some money.
Oh,
maybe I'm extremely cheap.
And if you get them unpainted, they're still pre-primed with Vallejo paint. So it's really easy to just put a black wash on a gray pillar and be done with it.
All right, Luis, what is your next item?
One that is too big for a stocking again. I'm sorry. But there are smaller versions of this. But basically, it's what is listed on the website as a table carousel holder. It's kind of a small holder to put things like paints and brushes and the like. I think it's a perfect companion for anyone who wants to get into painting miniatures. And it's especially good for I have done lots of big group sessions where me and my 5 players or whatever all sit down and we're all painting minis and all seated around the table. And what you can do is, if you're the person that happens to own all the paints, or if everyone brings in their own paints and stuff, you can put them all in to one of these things and just kind of spin them around lazy Susan style to get at whatever you need and share. And there's different types of those all over the place, and you can find one that fits your particular needs if you have lots of paints, or if you're just starting off. It's still a nice little convenient holder, because it's very easy to have a session where you're painting stuff and things get scattered all over the table, and this kind of contains things, and it's very useful.
Yeah, this is a really smart idea, because like it is a makeup holder, but the kind of shapes of the items that you're using when you're painting miniatures is basically the same size. And so you know that it's designed to hold something of that size and weight, and that it's adjustable to fit a variety of different things. So I can see putting a full like super glue on one shelf and then a whole bunch of like Citadel paints on the bottom. I appreciate, Luis, that you're finding items that are just not gaming items, but are super useful to gamers.
I have a couple gaming items too, but those are the ones that I've encountered in my experience that have been very nice to have.
In the spirit of Luis's recommendation, this is on my list, but I have used this before. If you can get an empty spice rack, those are wonderful for not putting the spices in, but those little spice tubes are perfect for a 7 set of dice that you then have a little carousel of matched colored dice for your players to grab.
Now, my next recommendation is in the $15 range. Oh, actually, sorry, I wanted to shout out to a couple of recommendations in chat.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Bard Wannabe says Hero Forge gift certificate is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And King of Rock saying that, Hero Forge Mini is about at the top end. Actually, there's some Hero Forge materials that like you could get a steel or a gold Hero Forge miniature. And I look at them every time. I have yet to order one, but I look at them every time. And again, that's my idea of a good gift, the kind of thing that someone would want, but could not bring themselves to buy for themselves. Also, Big Norse Wolf is just suggesting you get your gamer friend some Crown Royal.
It's a drink and a dice bag.
I think I've bought you Hero Forge specifically the last couple of Christmases.
You did. You never got me Crown Royal, and that's fine. I'm not a drinker. But yeah, you did surprise me with the Hero Forge miniature, which turned into Itzumi, my Super Mario-themed alchemist brawler.
Awesome.
My next item is something that maybe you can get for next Christmas, because in trying to track down where to buy it, I actually had to email the person who makes it, and she had to admit that her store is down until about spring 2020. But it's something I've shouted out to a couple of times, and I just fall more in love with it every time I use it. It is the HP indicator enamel pin. So we've talked about it, I think even last episode or the episode before, where it is just a little slider that shows whether your heart is somewhere in the green, in the yellow, in the orange, or all the way down to the red. In my last session that I played, which was an Emerald Spire game with Mono Hombre. Oh, Luis, you remember Mono Hombre?
Yes, of course.
So between my boss fight action figure, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, and this, I did dramatic reenactments through pictures of how badly beat up Mono Hombre was. And when I was talking about this in an episode where Vanessa was replacing you, Perram, she mentioned that, people could not just use this for HP, but for, your level of spoons just as a person, which I found out was one of the intentions for the design by the designer, that it's like, I'm sorry, it's not that I'm mad at you. I'm in orange right now and I cannot deal with anything other than my own stuff, for example. It's a $15 item that I am very lucky my friend Emily picked up for me from Nerdy Design something at New York Comic Con. But again, not available on their website either. It's an amazing item. I'm so glad I have, and I hope one day you all will be able to get yourselves one.
Big Norse Wolf is pointing out you need 2 for Starfinder.
All right. Well, they only come in one color for now. But now that, I've got this email relationship with the designer, I could be like, by the way, if you make them in 2 different colors, they could represent 2 different health bars. So that is the HP Indicator Enamel Pin. It is by Rebecca Farrow. So if you want to keep an eye out for it, you can go to beccafarrow.com. That's Farrow. Or you can follow her at rfarrowster on Twitter.
So my next recommendation is something that every gamer needs. A way to keep their dice organized. Specifically, there is a few different companies are making these because it's such a brilliant idea. It is a dice case / dice tray combo unit where
okay.
I pull it up on screen. You've got like a octagonal case that has 2 walls on the inside where you put all the dice that you have around it outside of it, and you leave the center empty to roll dice into. So it stores several sets of dice. You can use the lid as a dice tray, the center as a dice tray, and you can just close it all up and throw it in your bag. This is brilliant because right now I'm carrying a dice tray and a way to carry dice, and this would make my life very easy. And I only have one thing to both store and travel with, dice and tray in one.
Yeah, I like the idea of this dice moat because, like, I've got the really cool, no, not Dogmite, Wormwood rolling tray that I use from time to time, but then it means I'm putting my dice outside the tray and they just kind of feel scattered there. So having a dedicated place for the dice and a dedicated place for rolling the dice is really clever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is another $30 gift. So I've seen it
Luis,
as little as 20.
Next is, okay, so 3D printing is a marvel nowadays. And with that, you can do things like print out condition rings and monster indicators and the like. So if you hop onto Etsy and search for something like condition rings, like Pathfinder condition rings, D&D condition rings, you will find so many stores that are selling just these 3D printed rings that fit outside on the outside of the base of a medium size miniature or small size miniature that you can use for anything. I mean, a lot of them are designed for conditions. They'll say things like deafened and blinded and invisible and things like that. But you can even then use them to, if you have 8 of the same kobold miniature out there, you can then use that to distinguish them as a GM to know what you're doing with those. And just something like that is very easy to pick up a small pack. They vary anywhere from, typically you might order a set that has one of each condition for $5 to $25, depending on the quality of them. And you can then pick up multiples, so you have multiples of each condition and number. But something like that is just great. When I first started playing 4th edition D&D, to keep track of conditions and stuff going on, we would take the plastic rings that are under the bottle cap from a 2-liter bottle of soda and break those off, and then we can set them onto a miniature for indicating stuff. And now this is the fancier version of doing that with 3D printing.
And that was something that was also on my list. It's a really good idea. I found a not 3D printed version, a mass produced version called Rings of Power, available on Amazon from Strategigem. And they're designed basically the same thing. They fit around a 25 millimeter. The set comes with large and medium, and they're also designed so that they stack up on top of each other.
So I was just on Thingiverse looking to see, because you were mentioning 3D printing, but the one on Etsy, I assume you're paying for someone else to print it. But a lot of people have 3D printers, so I was curious if Thingiverse had any similar items. And there's actually this set, D&D tabletop visual condition tags, that is a free download. I just startled myself pressing the download all files to find out what the price was, and it went to a download window.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've actually got a similar item later on my list, but now that you bring 3D printing into it, I wonder if there's any point in even doing. Well, anyway, I'll bring it up anyway, because not everyone has a 3D printer, and some people still like the more traditional production methods.
So the next stocking stuffer is a 3D printer. No.
I wouldn't put it past you, Perram. Gigantic stockings. Are Kentucky stockings just overalls?
Yes, of course.
Well, that's where we differ.
What do you think
I
Santa
just have
wears?
thick socks. I don't think Santa. Yeah, maybe he does. Now that you mention it, I don't know what Santa wears. We're at. Oh, okay. It's my turn, and it is the item that I was just talking about. So, game tokens by Dapper Devil. So, Dapper Devil also does acrylic accessories, and they have very clever designs, and so many of them. And it's a tiny booth that I go to every Gen Con and just marvel at all the little things. It's like, I think it's as small as a booth can be. And I could spend 2 hours in there and not see everything, just because everything is these tiny little things. They're smaller than of a 5-foot square on your grid. And he has just got this massive selection of these acrylic things. So, like, for example, the charge, to represent that you're charging, is an arrow, and it says charge on it. Climbing has mountain climber on it. Concealed has some kind of ninja looking dude. Dying is a face with a scythe overlaying it. So they're not just useful, they're pretty and useful, which I always appreciate. I'm a big fan of when somebody is better at making something visual than I could ever imagine. And while you're there, so yeah, they're like 60 cents each.
Wow.
The idea is that you figure out every condition your character could ever apply to somebody, take $10 to Dapper Devil, and just load up on them. And while you're there, you might want to check out his coasters, because I have about 10 of his coasters at this point in my collection. And they're just fun. They're geeky. It's fun to have just a variety of talk piece coasters so that people don't feel so insulted when you're like, don't put water rings on my table, you heathen.
Yes, as some
ruffian. I should have said ruffian.
Whoever is who owns the place you play at, buying them a set of geeky coasters is a great stocking stuffer to protect those game tables. And I say that as somebody who keeps chasing drinks off my game table. Also, dice trays, like we've already said, because don't roll those ginormous metal meteor dice on my game table.
But it's from a literal meteor.
Have you seen what meteors do to woods?
Yes, I've seen what meteors do to dinosaurs.
See, my table is not as strong as a T-Rex.
We've been accused of going strange places with this segment by Stephen Glicker. Well, maybe we are, Stephen. Perram, I believe it's your turn.
All right,
did I skip you, Luis? Was it my turn when I went?
It's Luis's turn.
No, because Luis, you did the 3D printing one. Then I did my tokens. No, it is you, Perram.
Okay. So my next one was going to be the Rings of Power, but I'm going to skip down to Let Go. These Let Go accessories, specifically, Let Go also does acrylic cuttings, and you can find they do lots of useful things. This is a great GM buy, and some of the things you might want to get them are things like fire tokens, because things catch on fire a lot in role-playing games, especially adventures written by Luis Loza.
Yay.
And
Luis, is this one of your specialties?
As of late, yes. Fire is pretty fun to play with.
Let's just say Age of Ashes is literal. And so they make smoke tokens. They make all sorts of little 3D tokens for things that your GM, again, wants to draw on battle mats. Just being able to toss these on the table is more impressive, easier to read by the players, and is fun. So like the fire tokens, the smoke tokens, just go to LitGo and check out they're usually cheap. Another great set from LitGo is just invisible characters tokens you can get for like $10. It's just the silhouettes in clear acrylic of common RPG classes for when people turn invisible.
I believe I have a set of those.
I had a set. They've all broken because I am rough with my toys.
All right, Luis, I believe this is your last one, or at least it's the last one you've
That's
included
the
on
last
this
one
list.
that really requires a picture. I mean, there's plenty of
Whoa!
other ones here. But this is you can find other versions of this, but this is a set of jewelry magnifying lenses, which are perfect for painting miniatures. Kind of, if you've ever seen that iconic imagery of a man with a little jeweler's lens in one eye looking at a gem, you can use that to paint fine details on a miniature. And the one that I have showed off here at least has different magnification so you can look at even closer. So I mean, some minis nowadays have such fine detail that it's really hard to tell, like, is that a pouch, is that a potion? And that is really helpful for painting minis. And yeah, it just, there are times when, especially, older gamers, or just someone, if you're in bad lighting, just having that magnification can help out quite a bit.
And this is only $12?
Yeah.
Do you have this specifically? Yeah, excuse me, this particular model?
Yeah, that's the one I hopped into like my old Amazon wish list and like purchase history to find a lot of the stuff here. So that's the one I've snagged, and that one in particular, the way they work, you can't have both of them down, so you either use one eye or the other. But at least it's nice that you can choose to use whichever eye works best for what you're doing.
And how durable are the frames?
I mean, don't go tossing them around, but they seem pretty sturdy. Um, they they've held up to painting miniatures before, so that's all I really use them for. Um, yeah, just keep them in a nice place when you're not using them, and they should ideally last you forever. It's especially because they have so many of the spare lenses there.
So, Roll for Combat says Luis wins the geek contest. I believe in reference to this. Honestly, everything that we've brought up so far, I'm like, oh, that's intriguing. That's something I might like. I think I need to buy these right now.
Yeah, they look cool and they're so cheap. Why shouldn't you?
Oh, and it's so smart. Like, I definitely could have a better look at my my miniatures when I'm painting them.
Just think about all the cred you're going to get at the paint night at the store when you show up with your mini and then you put your special glasses on.
Well, Mono Hombre, as you know, has handprints on his eyes, mouth, and ears for, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And those were very hard to do freehand. I'd like another crack at them with these lenses on just to see how cool I can make his masks. All right. My last 4 purchase item is in the $5 range.
Ooh.
And these are, I think, super cool. So it's by what's the name of it? Gateway Games. The Dice Keep. Sorry, no, I said it wrong, didn't I? It's Gatekeeper Games. Mm-hmm. The Dice Keep. So just picture, I don't have one handy, your typical brick of dice.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine if it had ramparts on top and your miniature could stand in the ramparts and you could stack multiple of these dice towers, these dice keeps, one on top of each other. So that is the special plastic case that their dice come in when they sell them, but they also sell just the dice keep. So if you, like me, have, hundreds of sets of dice just lying around anywhere and tend to get a specific set of dice per miniature, this is a great way to pair up the miniature with their dice to just display all of your dice together in a row or in a stack. You can get a single one for $5, or you can get 12 packs, larger packs for discounted price for each. It holds the standard size sets. They're just super cool and very exciting and look great on a shelf.
Yeah, I actually ogled these when I was at PAX. They had a booth there, and I was like, that was super clever.
I agree. And I've signed up for their newsletter, and they tend to advertise this in every newsletter. And so once a week, I'm reminded I should buy a bunch of these.
So I see the price is $500 to $330. I'm assuming that's quantity.
Yes. What is the largest brick of dice keeps you can get? Far more than I'd ever need. Sorry, I just closed the thing.
A
120 pack, which, that's a good deal.
I don't think I'd ever need that many.
They're $275 each when you're getting 120 of them. So, come on. Obviously.
It's for you and the other 100 geeks in your life.
Exactly. Stuff a lot of stockings.
Mm-hmm. So,
any more, Perram?
I have one, but it has an asterisk next to its price point.
And I think what are you doing, Perram?
One of the things you can best get as a gift for your geek in your life that loves role-playing games is a commission from an artist to draw their character. Artists right now, this time of year, are often running specials to book advanced slots because artists need money for Christmas and holidays and spending, especially in the winter. So they're usually running specials and such that you can find. And there are artists in all sorts of price ranges, from like $20 all the way up to hundreds. So that's where the asterisk comes in. But for, around $30 to $70, you can get a really nice picture done for your character from a artist who would very much enjoy the payment for the work. And if you just book a commission slot and put it in an envelope with how they get in touch with the artist to redeem it, and slide that in the stocking, the player in your life will very much appreciate that.
Might I suggest you hand make the card and you personally draw what your version of their character is, so that they're like, imagine how much better this could be if you cash in what you've just given them as a gift.
That's actually something I've done a couple of times, is get commissions of my players' characters as part of their campaigns, which is why very early on at the start of every new campaign, I ask everyone for the detailed explanation as to what their characters look like, so then I can do that in secret later, as opposed to, oh, Christmas is coming up, quickly give me your character descriptions.
That's clever, but if I was in your campaign, you'd just get like, oh, I look brash.
Though if you are the GM and you're doing this for your players, gauge the difficulty of your campaign and then find an artist who can draw suitably fast enough.
Yeah, I know. One Christmas, Jeff bought everyone in our game group a Hero Forge miniature for themselves, and then like the next session, I killed Jeff's character. Not on purpose, but that's just what happened.
If they get that wrong, you just arrange for a reincarnate.
So it was actually in his backstory that for religious reasons, he didn't believe in reincarnation. Like, this character was dead forever. But he lived on as a Hero Forge miniature.
The first time I actually got to do some commissions this way, I had Pixel Slayer end up doing that, who ended up later in the future doing work for Paizo, and actually did the artwork for all the characters featured in Oblivion Oath.
Ooh.
So by chance, I had one of those official Paizo artists do character art for my players, and it's pretty awesome.
That is really awesome.
I'm going to shoot you a link here on Discord. So,
oh no, that messes everything up.
We'll see. But yeah, it's pretty neat. It's a neat thing to do, and it's just exciting to get character art. But now, sometimes I can ask for art as part of my job, and it happens to look like a character I'm playing. Oh my, it's a perk of the job.
Perram, do you have any more?
No, I'm tapped out.
All right, so my final idea was booklet of coupons for your fellow gamers. Kind of like, it's a traditional romantic gift for your wife of, free for a back rub anytime you want, or I will do all of both sides of the couple's chores for a week, so stuff like that. So the kind of coupons you can give to your player, you give your GM I will be the GM. You could be a player for once. Anytime you're just like, man, I need a break, you're the GM tonight, and no questions asked. I will run however to the best of my ability. Or your character would do that coupon, and you just shut up a player who's arguing about motivation and whatnot. Not that I have any objection to characters having acting based on their motivation, but I know a lot of GMs out there do. A specific one that I know I would appreciate is a babysitting coupon with a very specific caveat. So when you're giving parents a babysitting coupon, the thing to remember is that it's like, this is a coupon so that you can go and paint some miniatures. Because if you just give them flat out babysitting, they'll either go to a movie or they'll, go to sleep. But if it's like, this is something I know you want to do, you wish you had more time to do it, and one of the reasons you can't do it is, keeping your children alive, I will keep your children alive for you for one night. So attend a PFS session, other things that people do when they don't want their kids around. What is my last one? 5 minutes of cuddles. Oh yeah. So you can always cuddle your GM for 5 minutes. Sometimes they need it. Everyone needs cuddles sometimes. That is my list. Did you guys have any ideas for coupons that you might want to give to your players?
I mean, those are easy to use. It's very easy to do things that like a hero point could do, where a reroll, or one fun thing to do would be to give your entire group a coupon book, and one of the coupons is 1/5 of a resurrection, and then if need be, the whole party can cash in their particular part to bring a character back, but they'd have to work together to do so.
I like that you've taken my coupon idea and developed it.
The one coupon I would put in the book would be 15 minutes of spotlight for players, so that they can say,
cool.
"Hey, I really want to do a specific roleplay scene, and then this is me cashing it in."
Another fun thing would just be, can we play this other game? Not because we don't like your game, but I've always wanted to try out Call of Cthulhu or whatever the case might be. Let's do one session of this other game to try it out.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's really smart as a coupon, because like, think of the difference between knowing that you've got your, your Monday night game or whatever, and that everyone that's usually in that game has already committed that time, just asking them to do something different for once, instead of like, hey, let's all get together for Call of Cthulhu, create a new event in our calendar and find new time for it. Like, doing it that way that you're suggesting, Luis, is so much more executable.
Yeah.
I like it.
Also, to lean into the coupons idea a little bit, and maybe tangent it a little, food gift cards are often cliche, but giving them to be used specifically as a game group for a group dinner or something before the game starts is a good way to build camaraderie and have people stress less about the restaurant expense before the game.
No, you know what? That reminds me. So we've got our dear new blogger, Rob, who has connections with Chocolatier's Table. Chocolatier's Table is one of the products. What is the name of the company?
Critical Hits Cookies?
He has now sent me 2 of these gigantic boxes of fancy, expensive chocolate. And I love him for it because I love them. Come on. Hotel Chocolate. There we go. So Hotel Chocolate does luxury chocolates in the British style, and they make some wonderful boxes. And since we're talking about, presents that don't necessarily have to fit into a $20 budget or into a stocking, you might want to check out the Hotel Chocolatier's Table, because that is a massive, it's as big as so I've got the IKEA TV trays. It is bigger than one of those. I've taken some pictures of it, and every single person that's seen it in person has been like, oh, those pictures don't do it justice. This thing is massive. When he first sent it to me, first of all, Tina thought that I had ordered a picture frame. And second of all, we did not know where we were going to put this. We just left it on the kitchen table for a few days until we realized that we've got one specific shelf that we can maneuver it into. Yeah, these are wonderful. This is Rob doing his good job of being a representative for that company paying off. I've got a great picture of the second box that he sent me where Abigail is in the picture for scale. So if you check out my Facebook and look at some of my recent pictures,
Usually
this thing is massive.
Banana for this, not daughter for scale.
Well, a banana you would not even see compared to this giant chocolate box. Ready to wrap? Excuse me. Are we ready to wrap things up?
Yep.
This was fun.
Yeah.
And I have some shopping to do for my own stocking. Yeah, we've theoretically filled the entire Batman stocking tonight.
And then set several things next to it because they don't fit in the Batman stocking.
Yes, or they're just not appropriate for stocking stuffers. I forgive you both. Put that in your stocking this year. Are we doing transition, Perram, or are we just going to start shouting out?
I can do the wrap up. We'll be right back with this.
Wrap-ups and shout-outs. Wrap-ups and shout-outs. Wrap-ups. Wrap-ups and shout-outs.
And we're back.
Thank you for joining us for episode... Oh, that was smooth, Perram.
Thank you.
Smooth jazz style. I like it. Thank you for joining us for episode 214 of No Direction, the Pathfinder News, Reviews, and Interviews podcast. Before we go, there's a couple of things we'd like to shout out to. First of all, shout out to Fisherman Friend, because we've all been fighting some kind of something lately. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was going to bring up Boss Fight Studios later. Now is that later. So Boss Fight Studios, as I've brought up several times in the podcast in the last several years, it's my favorite action figure design company. They're just a cool group of people that happen to be really succeeding in their passion, which is action figure design. And they do the Vitruvian hats, which is my favorite toy line. Actually, I've got a couple of them here. Anyone that saw my Xavier Sever custom or my Mono Hombre also custom, which I use to physically represent things that might be happening in a scene, they'll be familiar with the Vitruvian hacks. They're great for customizing. Their fantasy line are just some absolutely amazing, detailed, fun, posable action figures. And so I was writing an article about how it's just awesome to have a superposable action figure at the table in case you want to do, like I said, actually physically represent something that's happening and you might be at a loss for words. Luis, you'll remember at one point when we were playing the wrestling game at PaizoCon, I was on the floor demonstrating a wrestling move that Mono Hombre, the wrestler, not the Pathfinder character, was doing. So anyway, I was writing this article. I was like, you know what? Let me just reach out to Boss Fight and see if we can work out some kind of arrangement for this. And yeah, they gave us a 10% discount offer code off anything that's in stock in their store. So if you go to Boss Fight Studio, which I recommend you do, check out their wide variety of items. Oh, and actually something I didn't mention in the article, but somebody pointed out that you can buy their accessory packs and hand them out kind of like the item cards that Paizo used to put out, so that people can have physical representations of their magic items. Yeah, check it all out. At checkout, use offer code No Direction, all one word, KNOW direction, like the Druid spell. I was going to say, is it still in second edition? Yeah, it's on the Primal list. I know because my Oracle took it. No, I guess that makes it on the Divine list. Anyway, yeah, that's a fun thing we're doing for another week or so. I think it goes until December 21st. Basically, it's expiring before Christmas, so if you plan on doing this, do it now. And speaking of Boss Fight and action figures, the company I work for as my day job, Blind Ferret, we are having a warehouse sale. Just items that are in our warehouse are going for blow-up prices, and that includes the Boss Fight developed Richard the Warlock action figure. It's going for $15. This was my kind of swan song as the product developer before I moved on to, other jobs at Blind Ferret. I love this thing. I would jump at the chance to get it for $15. It's a great representation of the character from the comic. It is loaded with cool accessories. They are compatible with Boss Fight Studios action figures. I know that I'm almost competing against the people that offered us a product code by telling you to also buy another action figure from another store, but I don't care because the Richard the Warlock action figure with his, let's see, you can pop off his arm and pop on a bear arm. You can swap his head for different expressions.
He reminds me of like a Figma with like all the parts he has.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but it's also, Figmas are more generic looking, right?
Well, Figma are
swap on the
anime figures. They're very specific characters.
Oh, okay. Then that's the opposite of generic. No, I think I was thinking of Stickfa.
Yeah, Figmas are like $80 though, and $15 is much less than
Oh, yeah, no, this is a $15 action figure. Way cheaper. So, yeah, swappable heads. We got some accessories. This is not one of the heads. This is a head with the Ligara crown on it, or you can get the kidney hat.
Does he have a kung fu grip?
Yes, well, sort of. He's got 4 sets of hands, which are 3 different designs of hands. There was a mistake in the production. They saw the 4 different ones and they saw the 3 different ones, put one set on him, and then recreated that set. So you've got 2 sets of the exact same hand. Anyway, you're getting an extra set of hands for free. So yeah, this one's got a kung fu grip, but he's also got the wide open like casting hand or claw hand. So, excuse me. So if you want to have him holding this fireball, you want to use the kung fu grip wouldn't be able to hold it well, but this one does.
And if you have Richard, you really want him holding a fireball.
Yeah, whoosh. You can have him like lifting it up like he's going to toss it at you. Like he's going to toss it at this elf over here. No, don't throw the fireball at me. No, I'm going to whoosh you. I don't know why I don't just spend 20 minutes every day playing action figures on a Twitch stream. So yeah, that is going for that's going for $15. It's got an awesome presentation. I strongly recommend that if you are even remotely interested in looking for group, you buy this as one of our greatest achievements in products.
I want to shout out to RPG Cast Twitter account, the @RPG Cast Twitter, for putting out the RPG Podcasts, a look at the industry chart, which is fascinating as somebody who's in the industry doing RPG podcasts. Currently, 19% of podcasts are us, discussion and reviews and interviews.
What?
And the rest are actual plays.
Okay.
And the average length is medium. I'm sure they somewhere define what medium is. 15% are long and 11% are short. I don't know what that means, but 53% are D&D, 5% are Pathfinder, 5% Call of Cthulhu, 5% Dungeon World, which surprises me. I mean, I knew it was a great popular system, but an indie system being that big is nice. 5% Fate, which doesn't surprise me because Fate is a great system to use for anything you want to use it for. 45% of all podcasts have LGBTQIA plus representation, which is a fantastic stat to have. 63% have women that are players. 24.
Did you say 63%? That's nice.
As women players. 24% women host, non-binary players, and 15%, non-binary hosts at 9%, people of color in 25%, and women and non-binary people of color 5%. So it's an interesting look at the industry and exactly where we're at, both in representation and what we're doing in it.
I'm gonna check that it's called the RPG Casts, right?
RPG_casts Twitter account. They have
but it's not actually. They don't have a podcast. They're just a Twitter account.
The Twitter account is basically an index of RPG related podcasts. We are one of the ones listed on too. So
awesome. Bucket of blood.
What do you need a bucket of blood for?
Well, as you'll remember from the comic, Kale, when he dipped his swords in the blood of actually just anybody's blood, it created a map to Cathanacia, and he turns and he sees Richard just filling up a bucket of blood, and he's like, "Oh, in case we need to see the map again." And Richard just kind of looks at the blood, looks up, and says, "Yep." It was classic. Lately, I have been shouting out to different podcasts in every episode, so I'm just going to open up my Podcast Addict app. And let you know, next one alphabetically is Adventurous. Perram, are you familiar with this podcast? It's wonderful.
I think so. Haven't they been doing a weird side story lately, though?
That's done.
Oh, okay.
It was a good time, had by all. Mimips 11.
Mhm.
I had an idea for a sequel called Mimips Incorporated, and it was going to be a murder mystery or a monster mystery. But no. So the next one on my list would be Androids and Aliens. This is a Glass Cannon Network podcast. It is their Starfinder podcast, and if you are a fan of the Glass Cannon, more for its banter and some of the antics that they get up to way more antics and have much more involved banter in Androids and Aliens. And it's also, as someone who's only read the Starfinder core rulebook once and has not kept up with Starfinder releases, this has really helped me keep up with how Starfinder works, the differences between Starfinder and Pathfinder. And it's a great example of the potential for a sci-fi setting where, yes, Pathfinder is a kitchen sink fantasy setting, but a kitchen sink sci-fi setting is way wackier, way weirder. There's a lot more places they can go with it. And the improv that they do and the times that they have gone off book have been some of the most memorable things that are in that actual play podcast. So they've even specifically said that they are trying as hard as they can to keep Androids and Aliens afloat because it is just not getting the downloads that Glass Cannon is. So if you're on the fence about it, I recommend you at least get the first couple of episodes, see how you feel for these characters and how the difference between that game and their Pathfinder games are. I recommend it. Oh man, I was going to say I like it more than Glass Cannon. I'm not sure. I like them both a lot.
Yeah. And it is sad to hear that, though. I mean, that kind of lines up with our own statistics internally about how well Starfinder content performs compared to Pathfinder content right now. But we love us some Starfinder. We want it to do better, and you all really should pay attention to it because it's so good, so good. Especially SFS. SFS is so good.
You know what else we love?
What?
We love Luis.
We do. We love him.
And apparently, the internet really loves Luis, especially today.
Mm-hmm.
So, Luis, what are some of the various podcasts that you've appeared on that, for some reason, all released on the same day?
Let it be known that December 11th will henceforth be known as Luis Day. I was on a little podcast called Roll for Combat. I spoke with Stephen Glicker of Roll for Combat at PAX Unplugged, actually, and got to talk a lot about the upcoming Lost Omen products, like the imminent Gods and Magic, and then the Absalom book, and the recently announced Lost Omen Legends. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. There's also this little unknown indie podcast called
Hold on,
Direction.
You're just going to rush past the fact that you talked about Lost Omen's Legends and that you revealed certain information about it?
Oh yeah, I reveal information all the time. You just got to know when to listen and pay attention.
All right, well, just to also plug to Roll for Combat, you go into my section of Lost Omen's Legends. So if people are curious what I did, we're not going to repeat it here. You have to go and check out Roll for Combat's interview with Luis and find out why Luis loves what I did.
It's because of the Monster Energy drink that you brought into the fantasy world.
I brought it back. It's from the technology guide from first edition. I just gave it more personality and backstory. I gave backstory to Pathfinder's energy drink.
So we have, I was on there, and then I also spoke with Perram at PAX Unplugged in an official capacity, and you can see the video he recorded of us chatting about the Lost Omen books, as well as my, as of this week, released Adventure Path Volume, Part 6 of Age of Ashes, Broken Promises.
I've heard there's lots of fire.
There is quite a bit of fire, yes.
I like that one because you talked a lot about designing high-level PF2, which is a topic we haven't got to delve into yet.
Yeah, we also have very little personal experience with it so far.
Well, eventually Perram's group will get there, and then maybe we can come back and chat about how playing in high-level Pathfinder 2nd Edition was.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to that conversation because that was one of the selling points of 2nd Edition, and then the only way that I would get to it right now is if I just jump straight to it. So having someone that actually earned those levels, I want to hear their take on it.
Well, I will see you in 12 to 18 months.
Yes. Yes, you will. Oh, but that does remind me. So the next episode of No Direction is scheduled to release on December 25th, which is a day that I think we're all going to be busy emptying out our stockings of all the awesome gaming stuff that we got. So we will not be doing a live recording, but there will be a pre-recorded episode. Perram, I meant to talk to you about it before the episode. We'll finalize what those plans are and announce them on Discord and Facebook.
No, of course.
Fine, or Perram, you can live stream Christmas dinner.
Okay, sure. So roll for initiative to carve the turkey.
We can roll off for the wishbone.
Right. Well, that would be a reflex save.
Ah.
And you can't roll
so
for
yes,
initiative
there will be
anymore.
content on Christmas Day. So if you are the kind of person that likes, has to journey to get to see your family and would love a podcast to listen to on the journey, we will be there for you.
Speaking of podcasts, I wanted to shout out a podcast before we sign off.
Please
because
do.
It kept me company for the 20 hours of driving it took for me to get to and from PAX Unplugged. And that is Alice Isn't Dead. Have you listened to this?
I have not listened to it, but it is advertised on Google Play, and Google Play only has about 12 different ads that they rotate through. So I've definitely heard an ad for this a lot.
Okay. It is incredibly good, and it is my personal type of urban legend creepy. Super well produced. They're short little 15-minute episodes. The entire story has been released now, so you can binge the entire storyline if you want to. It takes about 20 hours of the road to get through it, but it is definitely worth it. I have loved that experience, and it helped make that drive sane. And then also insane because it might not have been the best choice to do a road trip through back roads of Pennsylvania on, or maybe it was the best choice to do back roads of Pennsylvania on.
Until next time, I'm Ryan Costello.
I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Perram.
I'm Luis Loza.
You were a guest co-host, so you do your own outro when you are just
I'm
a
Luis
guest.
Loza, and I'll be on Pathfinder Friday this week.
Oh, exciting. Cool. What are you talking about? Oh, sorry, Luis, did you have any other shout-outs you want to make?
Hey, I'm going to be on Pathfinder Friday this week talking about Age of Ashes Part 6.
Very exciting. And if you want to find the path, you need no direction.